Pokemon Champions has been announced to be the platform to which we will be playing the World's 2026 Pokemon Championships. With the different battle mechanics that will be made available, that is going to encompass more than likely all the previous battle mechanics that we've had in the past, this will open up a huge number of opportunities for different mixed styles of battle formats. So we may come to wonder, how much does this cost? With already the fan-made service of Pokemon Showdown, we come to wonder if this is going to be something very similar to that. Should it cost anything at all? Or should it even be the same price of a new game for the Nintendo Switch 2? Let's dive in and see how much this is worth. What's going on, everyone? This is the Raikaze here, and like I just said, we are going to be looking into the features of the Pokemon Champions, and we're going to be looking at the potential costs of this upcoming game. Now, first and foremost, let's just go ahead and put it out there. This is Nintendo and this is Pokemon. Let's just go ahead and just say that this is already bringing up a natural concern that this game is going to be roughly about the $60 to $80 range, because there's that discussion about what is replayable, and if there's a lot of replayability of a game, then therefore the price is going to be a little bit higher. I mean, is it going to be higher than $80? And hopefully not, but this is what we are currently looking at with the current price market as it stands for the Nintendo Switch games. But of course, with that type of pricing, we have to wonder if that is something that is worth it. It is already known that Pokemon Showdown is a free service in which we are able to battle against people around the world, and we can alter the stats of our Pokemon. We can select them for free, we can change the stats for free. There's just no limitations on what we can do as long as it's within the confinements of that particular rule set, which those rules are in fact updated by individuals themselves based upon what comes out from the Pokemon Company. It is an excellent resource that allows people to practice with their Pokemon and also go against different people just so they're preparing for those upcoming tournaments. With Pokemon Champions, it gives us the opportunity to use points to change the stats of your Pokemon as well as their moves. Points will be acquired through battling in the rank system. However, it is unknown how easy it is to acquire those points, and since that has not yet been determined, it is safe to say that you will still want to use Pokemon Showdown before creating a team in Pokemon Champions. That way you're just not running out of points or anything of the sort if you're moving your stats up and down and you're not really fully settled on a Pokemon. So you can actually do that in Pokemon Showdown, then you can finalize it and then do it in Pokemon Champions. However, as you go through some of the ranked battles, and maybe it's not really that expensive to change your stats, and you say, hey, maybe my stats are not fine-tuned the way that you may want it, and you can just do a couple little alterations, and it might be very simple to do it. So it may be easily acquired, but we're not sure as of right now. Next up, we're going to be looking at the Pokemon roster. It is stated that if you have Pokemon Home, Pokemon Champions will have the compatibility to link up with Pokemon Home. Now, for previous Pokemon mythical distribution events and things of the sort, we had to have certain Pokedexes complete in order for us to be able to acquire those mythical Pokemon. Therefore, it's highly likely for a lot of the veteran players that they already have acquired the living dex in some of these previous games. Now, that was Sword and Shield, we have Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, and even Scarlet and Violet. So if you're someone that has already completed those previous dexes and you have those Pokemon in your Pokemon Home, you will actually be in a major benefit, because if Pokemon Champions is able to access your Pokemon from Pokemon Home, then you will not have to go through the hassle of literally taking your Pokemon outside of the game and having to worry about moves being altered or their PP being reset or anything of that sort. One of the clips that I did see in the Pokemon Champions promotions was showing that you are moving a Pokemon onto your party, which is something very similar to that of how we do it in the current games. I am still hoping that that is not going to be the case, because the one issue I've always had with the Pokemon Company as of right now is the fact that they have such a grand plethora number of Pokemon, yet there is still no cloud data backup support. This means that, for example, if your Pokemon are in, let's say, Scarlet and Violet, and it's of course downloaded into your Switch because the cartridge is not saving your data, then if your Switch were to actually break and they say, oh, we have to just simply wipe it clean, but we'll give you even a brand new Switch, yeah, cool, that's wonderful, but your data is completely gone. So if you've been working years and years and years on building up on your Pokemon or things of that sort, then you will have basically lost those Pokemon. And as you know, some of these Pokemon are rare events, and if you've lost these Pokemon because, your Switch is now destroyed, then you are, SOL. and you will not be able to use those Pokemon, and you have to find a way to get it again. And of course, if you try to find a way to get it online, which is not being officially your original trainer ID, you are also still once again running the risk of it being hacked. And then if you were to take it to a competition, then you are running the risk of being kicked out of that tournament. So many different factors that go into this that just basically counteracts the whole fact that we should have a backup support of our Pokemon game. Now, some of you may also say, oh, well, then why don't you just keep your Pokemon in Pokemon Home just in case if anything did happen to your Switch? Well, that doesn't actually work, because you will have your Pokemon registered in your battle boxes and things of the sorts, because you have up to 6 battle box teams in the current games. So if you were to take those Pokemon outside of your game, put it into Pokemon Home, number one, sometimes their moves are reset, and especially like the PP, so that can be a problem. And number two, they will no longer be in your battle box, so therefore you will not be able to use them in a competition or on the online rank ladder. So you will need to therefore put those Pokemon back into your game, and then you have to start over. So that is going to be a huge advantage if Pokemon Champions is able to access those Pokemon in Pokemon Home without having to actually move those Pokemon outside of Pokemon Home. That would be phenomenal. Now, of course, they did not forget for the newer players, because for those individuals that do not have access to a full living dex or anything of the sort, you will be able to access Pokemon based on a rental system, and you can borrow them for free for up to I think it's 7 days. And then even after that, you have the opportunity to use some points that you probably obtained from the rank ladder, and you are able to quote unquote purchase those Pokemon and add it into your game. Now, whether or not it gets your trainer ID or you're able to nickname it, I'm not 100% sure, but you are not able to alter the stats of that Pokemon within that 7-day trial period until it is officially yours. Next up, we're going to be talking about the ranked system. As we will be competing against one another, which we already do every single month, but it's just for a haha, this is my ranking for the month, and closed team sheet, all that different type of stuff. Now, with this going to become the new official competitive platform, there's going to be a lot of things that's going to be introduced here, so we may even get for example, open team sheet, which is the current way how we battle in the in-person tournaments at the VGC regionals, because we will be able to see what our opponents are able to do. Not necessarily their stats or anything, but we're able to see their moves and which Pokemon are holding which items and things of the sort. Now, with this being so many different types of battle mechanics that's going to be reintroduced into the game, maybe they might take away the open team sheet, or maybe they will still keep the open team sheet. But one thing that may be a thing is that we will maybe have options such as we could see their entire list of 6 Pokemon and the moves that they can use. Once again, still not being able to see their stats, and we will be able to then adjust with how we're going to have in our battle. But for the love of God, would they please let us at least finally know what is the difference between which Urshifu our opponent has? Because if they're using the same old sprite and we can't even see if this is an Urshifu Water or an Urshifu Dark, and we have to suspect which one it is, that is still completely annoying to me. So let's go ahead and get that fixed. Now, if we're going to have open team sheet on the online rank ladder, then fine. We don't even have to worry about that, because we can see it written down. But if we're not going to have that, at least give us better sprites, and so we can actually just move on from there. But one thing that I even just said, and I'm going to reiterate it one more time, this will be the new way to compete in the near future. So with there being a similar service in Pokemon Showdown that offers all of these things for free, do you think that Pokemon Champions would also be free? Well, no. In a sense, with the monthly or annual subscription that you have to Pokemon Home, and being the fact that this is going to be something that is kind of required-ish with your Pokemon Champions account, then in theory, this will make Pokemon Champions the most expensive new Pokemon game that we will ever have. Because of course, if you want to continue using your Pokemon that are in Pokemon Home, you have to maintain that subscription. So as long as you're maintaining that monthly or annual subscription fee, then therefore you're going to be able to use those Pokemon in Pokemon Champions. Then also on top of that, you're going to be paying a monthly and or annual subscription to the Nintendo Switch Online. So that is going to be an additional fee that you are going to therefore be paying for in order to make sure you're able to battle in the online ranked ladder. So with those additional costs in mind, do we believe then, if it's not going to be free, will Pokemon Champions be between that $60 to $80 range? I'm not completely sold on that. Maybe there's even going to be a cheaper version on just having the mobile app form, or maybe there's going to be a download code that automatically syncs with the Switch version as well as the mobile version, so it's going to be just one price, but you get both platforms. Maybe, not 100% sure. But one thing is for certain, it's going to be one or the other in terms of the Switch and or mobile version for the in-person competitions, because when you go to these competitions, they are going to have the docking stations. So whether or not they're saying, hey, you're going to have a mobile device so you can have your information transferred over to that so you can use that, so not everybody's bringing Switch 2 systems, $450 pieces of equipment to an entire tournament, then they may say, okay, that's how we're going to have to compete from here on out. Or they may just say, no, it is going to stay on the Nintendo Switch 2 systems, but you're going to therefore have to have a Nintendo Switch 2 and with this other service of Pokemon Champions and all of that built into one, and you bring that to the tournament. It's kind of still going to be kind of clunky, but nonetheless, it is going to be what it is. And also because it is going to be, a financial advantage, they may say in fact that you have to have a Nintendo Switch 2 because we will set it up for all the Nintendo Switch 2 docking stations for these tournaments, and you'll be able to compete only using that, not the mobile version. So with all these costs going into effect and looking at these comparisons, plus having the free option of the Pokemon Showdown also still available for people to get their practice in, I would say that Pokemon Champions may run about, let's say about $30 or something of that sort. However, once again, we are going to also still say that because this is going to be the official way and only way for us to truly compete for those future tournaments, we're going to be basically required to do whatever is stated per the rules. And with that being said, they can, in fact, be pricing things at the $60 to $80 range, or even greater than that, and still just say, hey, suck it up, Buttercup, because this is what is required from the company. And unfortunately, because if you want to compete, you're just going to have to do it. So that is going to suck, but I do hope that they do not make it, the $60 to $80 range, but nonetheless, we're just the consumers, so this is just what it is. Plus, in addition, they may have all the different future advancements because, let's say, for example, Pokemon will have additional generations where they're going to have additional Pokemon. There's going to be more updates that are going to be coming along to things, but we will still be able to go back to Pokemon Champions and just update that. So if it's going to be a continual game that is going to evolve as the Pokemon games go on in their future generations, then at that point that will make Pokemon Champions be worth the $80+ price. But I'm curious to know what you guys think. What do you think would be a fair price for the new Pokemon Champions game? And also, what are you hopeful that's going to be included in its production? Leave a comment below and share it with the community on what you think. And while you're down there, be sure to leave a like, share, subscribe, and turn on those notifications so you can see when those new videos are going to go live. But at this moment in time, this is going to be the Raikaze signing off. You all know what to do. You stay strong, and you always power on. Catch y'all later.